You should be familiar with how to do backups in both Windows 2000 as well as Windows XP as you study for the exam. Doing the backups within the operating system using the utilities that come with it is possible. However, it's not highly recommended in the real world because you've got to have the operating system up and running before you can actually do the restore. A far better solution is to do mirroring or some other approach to that. However, to do the exam preparation correctly, you do need to know how to do this, so we're going to walk through it. To start the backup in Windows 2000, go to the Start menu, choose Programs, Accessories, System Tools, and you'll see the backup choice. You've got three wizard options: Backup Wizard, Restore Wizard, and Emergency Repair Disk, and you've also got tabs that correspond to those along the top. The Backup Wizard will walk you through the steps of making the backup, allowing you to do so very easily. Choose the Next button. Choose to back up everything on the computer, only selected files or system state data. We'll go with everything at this point. Choose where to back up to. Ideally, you don't want to back up to your own drive because it doesn't do you a whole lot of good, but in this case we only have one drive installed, and so we're going to accept that as our default. This shows that what type of backup will be done and allows us to finish the operation and begin at this point, or click the Advanced button, and now we can get to a little bit more nitty-gritty. The type of backup can be a normal, which is basically everything, or it can be a copy operation, incremental, differential, or daily. The daily, as the name implies, is only getting the files that have today's date associated with them. The differential backup will get everything done since the last full backup, or normal, and it will also turn the archive bit off, so the next time you run a differential it will be larger than this time. Incremental will do everything since the last normal backup or the last incremental backup, and will continue to be small files as you go along there. If you're looking for speed, do a normal backup once a week, do an incremental backup once a day. When you go to restore, then you will restore the normal backup followed by every incremental backup in the set. If speed's not that important, do a normal backup once a week and then do a differential every day. In the case of restore, you'll restore the normal backup and then the latest and only the latest differential backup. We're going to stick with the normal at this point and choose Next. We can choose whether we want to verify the data after backup. Always a good choice. A backup isn't any good unless you actually know that it's valid. And we can choose if the media already has a backup to it to replace what is there, or to append that as well. Ideally, you're not recycling the media that much, and appending is probably not the best option. You want to replace what's there with the most current. Choose labels to be associated with it, and choose when to run the backup. It can be run immediately, or you can schedule it for a later time. Choosing to run it for a later time requires a password that must be given. The administrator password must be there so that it can run in unattended mode. And now we're back to the summation as well, giving far more information than what we had. We're going to go ahead and cancel out of this so it does not run. It would take a considerable amount of time. And you'll see that what the wizard did is actually start the backup tab here. From the backup tab, you can do the same thing and avoid the wizard and just simply choose what you want to back up. I can go through and pick certain files that I want to get, folders, and so on and so forth. Restore tab, as the name would imply, allows me to restore from a backup, and schedule jobs lets me choose when these are going to run. So I've got all those options as well. Let's go back to the Welcome menu, and we want to take a look at one more thing. That is the Emergency Repair Disk, ERD. What the Emergency Repair Disk requires you to do is to put a blank disk in the A drive, and it will essentially shrink down the registry information and put the registry information on there. So all the registry can be restored at that point, allowing you to get the system back up and running in case everything is just simply crumbled apart. Now we'll cancel out of this, and we'll look at one more item in Windows 2000. If we run the command prompt, we have a command line tool, which is NT Backup. What NT Backup does in 2000 is actually really nothing more than just simply start the graphical interface, and you'll see that pop up in front of your eyes there. So the command line option that used to be there in previous operating systems is now really nothing more than just an alias to this tool. We'll take a look at the similar operations in Windows XP shortly after this. Backups in Windows XP are done very similar to the way they were in Windows 2000. You won't see a whole lot of differences there. We simply go to the Start menu, choose Programs, Accessories, System Tools, and you'll see Backup is one of the choices there. Now the key difference is that the wizard will try and start off automatically for you. You can choose to always start in wizard mode, which is the default, or you can uncheck that. If you don't mind the wizard once in a while, you can always click advanced mode and go directly to that. In this case, we're going to go ahead and leave it in the wizard mode for this time, not have it start that way next time. It's choosing to ask you whether you want to back up or restore. We'll back up all of our files and settings. You can choose what to back up. There's a little more granularity here. Do you want only your documents, everyone's documents, which used to be called all information, or basically everything that's there, including the system recovery disk? You can choose to let it allow you to select or customize what you want and make your choices there. In this case, let's choose to do just the C drive and nothing more. We'll click next. Again, for some reason it defaults to the A drive, which is unusual because there aren't a whole lot of A drives that will hold that much information, but you can choose any location that you want to. We'll browse in this case and click our C drive just for example. Go with the default backup.bkf. Save and click the next button to continue on. Once again, we have the choice of the advanced button, which is going to allow us to choose what we want. Our normal backup, copy, incremental, differential, or daily are available. You can choose to verify the data after backup. Again, I highly recommend doing so. You can also disable volume shadow copy. Shadow copies allow files to be backed up even though they're still open. Probably not the best idea unless you've got files that are never closing. If that's the case, the only option you have is to do shadow copies. Append to the existing backups, replace the existing backups, or choices that are available for you there as well as to schedule it now or later. If you schedule it later, you must once again give the information such as the administrator's password, so it can be run at that time. We're going to cancel out of this. Let's go back and start our program again, this time without the wizard automatically starting for us. We're choosing backup from System Tools, and this is that very familiar looking interface. We can do backups, we can do restores, and we can schedule jobs. What's missing is we do not have the ERD choice. ERD has now been replaced by the ASR, the Automated System Recovery Wizard. The Automated System Recovery Wizard creates a two-part backup. Number one, it creates a typical backup as well as a floppy disk that contains your system settings. So the same basic concept as what the ERD was. By default, it will start the wizard, and the wizard is asking you what you want to do, where do you want to store it to. We're going to go with that. It will create the full backup and then prompt you for that backup disk, which is actually only a floppy. We're going to cancel out of that and go back and start our command line. Run nt backup from the command line, and once again you'll see it starts just as it did in Windows 2000, the graphical interface there. And that's the way backups work in Windows XP.